Hi, it's Michelle, and today I wanted to talk about why willpower is fleeting. So, when I was struggling with dieting, I thought I needed more willpower. I just couldn't do it enough, that I lacked enough strength or willpower to really push through. And the thing was, I was pushing so hard, I eventually had sort of like a breakdown. I couldn't keep pushing and I just couldn't do it anymore. And I had to almost like let go of all of that restriction and pushing in my mind. And so that's the thing. Our willpower is really our conscious mind. And our conscious mind is only able to run about 5% of our actions. So we have conscious control of 5% of the things we're sort of doing. But our subconscious mind runs about 90 to 95% of our actions, and they're very automatic. So for instance, if you think about your heart beating or when you breathe in and out, or all of those metabolic functions in your body, you don't ever have to think about them. They're automatic and they're run by the subconscious. But we also have patterns in our subconscious that might not be the healthiest for us that are running and making our lives, we do those automatic behaviors or those automatic things that we're not really thinking about, we're just doing. So for instance, if you think about learning to drive a car and driving a car. So imagine every time you got into a car, you had to relearn driving. So think back to the first time you probably learned to drive. You had to focus, you were probably nervous, you're learning something new, you're very aware of everything. But over time, that became a habit. You kept doing it and it just became automatic. So your subconscious took a hold of that pattern and that way of driving. So when you drive from point A to point B, sometimes you don't even remember how you got there because it was in your subconscious was driving you there. It was very automatic. And so this can be a really great thing. Our subconscious, it helps us to perform things and do actions very without even thinking about it, right? But what happens is when we pick up patterns that are not healthy for us right now, and a lot of the times when we're younger, just because of the way our brain is developing until we're about 7 or 8, we're automatically picking up patterns around us. We're just absorbing the patterns that we see because we want, that's how a human would learn really quickly. So if we see our parents doing something, let's say they ate to feel better about their feelings, or this is how they cope with emotions, or they gave us, even cake, or here's a cookie, you're not feeling well, whatever patterns we learned, then they're just in our subconscious. And because our subconscious is 95%, it has a lot of power over our actions and what we automatically do. And so, when we try to change, for instance, it is like our conscious mind is like, we want to change, and we've got this subconscious with this pattern. We're going up against it, and we're going to hit a lot of resistance. And we're going to constantly be hitting resistance because there's this ingrained pattern there. And I feel for emotional eaters, this is even more difficult because you've used food for so long as a coping mechanism. It's this ingrained pattern that you just so automatically jump to food to feel better about your emotions or feel better about whatever is going on, stress, whatever it is using to cover up. So you jump to the food to temporarily relieve yourself because, that's how you deal with emotions. You haven't really learned how to be with them or process them, and most of us haven't, but this is just the way you cope. Right? You use food to cope with whatever's going on under the surface. And so this is a really big challenge for our willpower because our subconscious, these patterns are there to make us feel safe, to protect us. They're our comfort zone. And when we try to change something or a lot of things at once, even though we're seeing this pattern, it's trying to keep us safe. And we can't just change it with our mind so easily. We need to actually do it very gently and make it a safe process. And so usually what happens when we develop these coping mechanisms also is that there's some level of trauma or unresolved issues underneath. And so we really want that coping mechanism because to be with that emotion or that situation might be really difficult. And if we didn't learn how to be with our emotions and really process them, it's like we only have this coping mechanism to deal with it, no matter how aware we are. It's also very scary to be with those emotions because we're not taught how to do that. And so what we can start doing is start looking at the pattern of all the times we emotionally eat or we binge, and looking at where were we, what was the situation, what were we feeling or thinking, and start noticing if there's a pattern, and start writing out, how you were feeling, journaling, and trying to just allow that emotion or feeling to get onto the page. This is a really great first step to try to create that safe environment for your emotions to come out. And of course, as you do this more and more, you might gain more emotional strength, but it's also really great to work with a practitioner or someone that does what I find works best is somatic work, especially getting into the body, because that's where our emotions live. Talk therapy kind of loops and we become really aware of what's going on, but we never fully get into the emotion, process it, so feel it, resolve it, and then transform it. So when we're able to transform it, we can transform that pattern because we can find the true way of being with the emotion rather than covering up with a coping mechanism or this pattern that our subconscious is really good at doing. So I hope this all makes sense, that, we just have this pattern that we're so used to deal with emotions, that we use food or, whatever it is, we're using the food to cover up. And it's really just a coping mechanism. So it's a band-aid. It's not actually resolving the emotion. And so if you have any questions, please let me know. And I hope this video has helped you understand a little bit more about why willpower is really fleeting. And if you need additional support or you have any questions, please leave a comment below. And please be sure to like and subscribe if you haven't. And I will be in touch soon. And I hope you have a great day. Bye.